Hi, and welcome to Noble Character Crafts. My name is Amy, and I'm coming to you today from eastern Nebraska, where I live with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Friday, July 19th, 2024. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you really enjoyed this episode. This is a channel all about my crafty life, and today I have knitting and crocheting to share with you all. I will have links to the places that you can find me in the description box below, as well as the show notes for this episode. I'm hosting a year-long make-along on Instagram this year called the Make 9 2024 Mal, and that's for you to join in the Make 9 challenge, where you can choose 9 projects that you would like to work on this year, make a grid of those projects, and then anytime that you post a picture showing one of your works in progress from your board or one of your finished objects, feel free to include the hashtag Make 9 2024 Mal, and that will enter you in the drawing to win a prize, which I give away periodically throughout the year. And I have a few more prizes to give away today. The last time I gave away some prizes was 2 episodes ago, and one of the prize winners is actually living in China, and so she said that she knew it was going to be very expensive for me to mail her prize to her, and so she opted out of receiving a physical prize, and I instead gifted her a Ravelry pattern prize. Instead, she asked for the West Knits Mystery Sock knit along that's going on right now. So I gifted that to her instead. So I have that to give away again today. So it is, all of the prizes that I'm giving away today were gifted to me by viewers of this channel. So this one that you would have seen a couple of episodes ago is a, there's a bit of hay or something in this one, a hank of Cascade Yarns Heritage, and the color number is 5683. It is fingering weight, 75% superwash merino wool and 25% nylon. And then you also will be getting 2 skeins. Only one of them has a label though, because the other label got wrecked. But they are actually the same lot, dye lot. But it's Patton's Croy socks in the brown rose marl colorway, and this is also 75% washable wool, 25% nylon fingering weight, although it does seem to be more of a sport weight, but it's labeled as a fingering weight, but it's a bit thicker than the average fingering weight yarn. So you get those yarns, and then also you get a few cute little progress keepers. So there's a little sweets, like candy pieces here, and then like a movie ticket or something. It says admit 1 on it, and you also get them on this big clip. So the winner of this prize is Jessica at Cafe Bean Counter Knits. Congratulations to you, Jessica. Thank you so much for participating in the Make 9 2024 Mal. And for you and all of the winners that I'll announce today, please just get in contact with me through Instagram direct message. Let me know your first and last name and your mailing address, and I'll get your prizes off in the mail as soon as I can, which sometimes takes me a little while, but I'll get them off to you as soon as I can. The next prize that I have to give are 2 big cakes of yarn, and again, one of them has a label, one does not, but they're matching. And this is Juniper Moon Farm Findley Dappled yarn. It's 50% merino wool, 50% silk, in the color Bayou, number 115. And I feel like this is lace weight if I remember correctly, but I'm not 100% sure. Yes, you get 798 yards to 100 grams, and there's 2 100-gram cakes. And then you also will be receiving this little package of cute wooden progress keepers, and they all have kind of a floral theme. And the winner of this prize is Chantel at Lou Knits Crochets. Congratulations to you. The third prize is a hank of Vita Lana by Knit Crate, which is a DK weight yarn. It's 48% merino wool, 20% baby alpaca, and 32% organic cotton, and it's in the colorway Firewood. And it's kind of a chainette, I think. Definitely looks like a chainette yarn. And then you'll also be receiving 2 100-gram hanks of this mystery yarn. It's a pretty thin weight, so it may be fingering or it may be lace weight. I'm not 100% sure. Again, this was gifted to me, but the gifter didn't have labels for it. So it's a mystery yarn, but it's in this beautiful chocolatey brown colorway. So I hope that the winner will enjoy these yarns. And the winner is Carlin Lancer on Instagram. Congratulations to you, Carlin. The last prize are these beautiful hanks of Malabrigo worsted yarn in the Rosalinda colorway, and it is 100 grams each. I want to know what the makeup of the yarn is. Why wouldn't it say that on here? That's odd, isn't it? Oh, pure merino wool. So I guess it's 100% merino wool. Isn't that beautiful? And the winner of these skeins is Charmaine at Knitting Under the Yellowwood. Congratulations to you as well. Again, just let me know through Instagram direct message your first and last name and mailing address, and I'll be so happy to get these off into the mail to you all. Congratulations again. Thank you again so much to everybody who has continued to participate in the make along, and don't hesitate to continue to join in if you haven't already. It is just a participatory make along. You don't have to finish anything, so you're welcome to join in at any time. Whips are allowed, as well as any craft is allowed as well. All right, I today am wearing a hand knit shirt, but I forgot to look up what the pattern name is. So let me grab my old knitting book over here. And now I need to find it. Let's see. I made this top last summer, so I should be able to find it fairly easily if I look in, last summer's. Here it is. Okay, so it is called the Color Splash Tee, and the designer is Mary Papillon. I made a lot of modifications to this pattern. If I recall, I made it using Knit Picks Comfy Fingering in the ivory and black colorways, and I will link to the episode where I share this as a finished object, so that if you're interested in getting any more information about it, you can check that episode out to learn more about how I made this top. But it is reversible, so the back, you can kind of get a glimpse of it here, is opposite. So the color stripes are opposite from the front. And I got this idea from watching another knitting podcast. She had made a top that was similar in that the front and the back were reversed and opposite like this, but in different colors, and it was a different pattern. But I was just inspired by a top that I saw someone else had made, and I thought it would be fun to make this. So it's a nice summer top, and I really enjoy it. So I will go on to my finished objects. So many of you showed a lot of interest in the pillow that I was working on last time I recorded an episode, and I was able to finish it, and I'm extremely happy with how it turned out. This is called the Hen and Chicks Cushion, and it is a pattern by Pippa Patterns. I started it on June 25th and finished it on July 15th. I used a G 4mm hook, and I used a variety, well, 3 different types of yarn. I was doing a lot of stash busting in order to make this cushion. So the green color is a Knit Picks Brava bulky weight yarn in the Peapod colorway. All of the yarns are 100% acrylic. Then the pink color that you can see in the middle here, and it runs all the way through to this layer of leaves, that is Premier Bloom Chunky yarn in the Orchid colorway. And it's a self-striping yarn, so you can see that the colors really change throughout the leaves as I worked through the colors. And then the final color, which you can see only in the middle of the last row of leaves, was gifted to me by a viewer of this channel, and it is Deborah Norville Serenity Chunky in the red Bayou colorway. So last time I recorded, I had almost finished making all of the leaves. I only had a few more pieces of the leaves to make. And then well, the instructions have you crochet the leaves together. So I did that. And that went really well, but it was a bit of a time-consuming process to piece all of these leaves together because they're all double-sided. So you make 2 leaf pieces and then you crochet them together. And then you also add some pink yarn to the tip to make this little pointy tip part. The only leaf that's not double-sided is the very middle one here. It's just a 1-layer leaf. I also needed to make the actual cushion, so I used the red Bayou colorway for the actual cushion. You make 2 layers in a circle, like two big circles. Then you crochet those 2 pieces together. Well, first you do a bit of seaming along the inside because this section right here is flat. There's no stuffing in this section. And then just along the outside here, it's like a donut almost. There's stuffing along the outside here. So you actually sew a line along here to keep the stuffing from going into the middle section. Then you crochet the 2 pieces together along the outside while stuffing this donut type shape. But I think the back side of it looks kind of cool too. I mean, it's not nearly as cool as the front side, but it kind of almost looks like a sunflower type or a daisy type of a shape. So you could get some variety there, but I'm sure I would most likely show the other side, of course. Since I was using just scraps of yarn, I didn't have a ton of the green color, but I wanted to use as much of it as I could. So I was, careful with where I put the green. I wanted it to be the most prominent color, which I think it worked out pretty well how I did it. And then I just used the other colors for the pieces that weren't going to be shown as much. Well, of course, for the inside pieces, and then for all of the back. So on the back of each of the petals, it either has the red Bayou, or on the back of the other petals, it has the Orchid colorway on the back of these. I think that's fun too, though, that on the back side of all of these leaves, it's a little bit of variation. So I think that makes it look pretty lifelike because a plant is not just one solid color. It's got a lot of variation to it. So I think that works well for this, and I'm just so happy with how this turned out. It was, one of those projects that was a bit cumbersome, a bit fiddly to actually make, similar to a lot of amigurumi type projects, which I guess this is a type of amigurumi in a way, but it's so beautiful. I just love the way it turned out. So our county fair is coming up next week, and I think I'm going to enter this as one of the items in the needlework category, and I'm excited to enter it in the fair along with a few other things that I've made in the last year. So yeah, we'll see how it does. It's kind of a unique piece. I'm really happy with how it turned out, but it's one of those things that I probably won't make another one of these anytime soon because it was pretty labor intensive, but very worthwhile when I'm all now that it's all done. I'm so happy with how it turned out. I think it's so pretty. And I mentioned last time that the designer of this pattern, Pippa Patterns, I linked to her Ravelry page last time, and I'll do that again because if you haven't checked out her other patterns, you really should. She has so many patterns of like house plants, and they look so lifelike, or flowers. She has lots of cushions that are kind of like this in different flower patterns and things, but then she also just has like patterns that actually look like a house plant or a bouquet of flowers, and it's just to go, even if, you know, you're not going to take the time to make one of her patterns, just to go and admire her craftsmanship is well worth your time because she's so incredibly talented. So I'm very, very happy that I was able to make this pattern, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I also was able to finish the Afghan that I was working on last time. So this is kind of a toddler-sized Afghan. And I crocheted this for a little girl that my sister-in-law is caring for. She's 3 years old, and I think that she will really like this. I'll have to stand up so you can see it a bit better, but let me talk through it first before I do that. I used, again, gifted yarn for this project. Both of these yarns that I used in this project were gifted to me by viewers of this channel, and I really love how it turned out. So it is made, well, last time I recorded, I had made, I think I was at 4 rows. Let's see. So about like this, 4 rows of the squares. And so I added 3 more rows. So I have a total of 7 rows. And then across there are 5 squares. So 7 squares by 5 squares is the size of the Afghan. And then it just has this really fun border, which I absolutely love how the border turned out. I think it's so cool. I need to reach over to my bookshelf again to get the pattern booklet. The pattern came from this book called A Year of Afghans. It's a Leisure Arts publication from the year 2000. And I made the Country Hearts Afghan. But of course I made some modifications as always. I did follow the pattern exactly for the heart design. It's made using worsted weight yarn. The light pink colorway that I used in this blanket is Knit Picks Brava worsted in the Cherry Speckle colorway. And then the brighter red solid colored yarn did not have a label on it, but I'm confident that it is also worsted weight 100% acrylic yarn, but I don't have a brand or colorway name for that one at all. I used an H5mm hook for the entirety of this blanket, and again I followed the pattern for the actual heart, but then after the heart I eliminated 1 chain stitch throughout. So if it called for a chain stitch, I eliminated it, or for example, if it called for a chain 6, I only chained 5. So whenever it called for chain stitches after the heart, I subtracted 1 from the instructions, whether that equaled 0 or, you know, just 1 less than what was called for. My purpose in doing that was so that I wouldn't have as many holes or gaps throughout the rest of the blanket. I wanted it to be more of a tighter gauge. I didn't want there to be as many open holes. So many times in granny squares, between each granny square cluster of 3 double crochet stitches, sometimes people will call for there to be a chain 1 in between each of those clusters, but I prefer not to add those in and just do granny clusters and have no chains in between. So that's what I did, and I just like how that makes more of a tighter weave, I guess, or tighter finished product. And let's see, I joined my squares as I went along. I also alternated the placement of the hearts. In the original pattern, all the hearts are facing the same direction, but I alternated mine so that every other row they're flipping, leaning left or leaning right. I made my blanket 2 rows shorter and 2 rows more narrow than the called for pattern. And I used a smaller hook, so I went down a hook size. For the border, I'm pretty sure I followed the instructions, except for, again, eliminating those extra chain stitches in between the granny clusters. So the border first starts with a couple of rows of single crochet and chain stitches. I'm using all American terms, by the way. And then you have 5 rows of the granny stitch all the way around. And then the final 2 rows, I just love how that looks. It makes such a nice, clean, but fun border. And I really love how that looks. I've never done a border quite like this, and I just think it turned out so neat. I'm really, really happy with how that looks. I love it. So I started this blanket on June 24th and I finished it on July 14th. It measures 35 inches wide by 45 inches tall. And I think that covers it all. I'll go ahead and stand up so you can see it in its entirety. So it's kind of, you know, perfect size for a 3-year-old, I think. Being a little bit bigger than a baby blanket, but not as big as a twin size. But I think it'll be a really good size for her. And I think it's so sweet. She absolutely loves the color pink, so it's perfect for her in that. I really think she'll like it. And she likes hearts too. So yeah, I'm very excited to gift this to her. It does have a bit of a bittersweet tail though, because I mentioned last time that the little girl that this is going to has an older brother, and my sister-in-law was caring for both of them, but the brother has, well, my sister-in-law is no longer caring for the brother. So I had just started making a blanket for him, but I don't think I'll get to see him. So that's bittersweet. I mean, I'm happy that I have this blanket done and I can gift it to the little girl, but yeah, I don't think I'll be able to get a chance to gift a blanket to her brother. But anyway, I will try to get this off to her as quickly as possible because foster care is just very unpredictable sometimes, and I want to make sure that she has this and can, you know, be loved by getting a nice handmade gift. And I hope she loves it. I'm pretty sure she will. So I didn't really want to say anything about the little boy, but I felt like people were going to wonder since I had mentioned that I was going to make him a blanket too. So I thought I would just mention that that's why I'm not going to be probably making him one unless circumstances change again. I have a few more finished objects. I was able, last time I had an episode, I shared that I had finished one dishcloth that looked just like this, and then I was working on this second one, and I finished it as well. So I followed the pattern for the Rainbow Ripple Baby Blanket, and I only make 12 rounds. That is a free pattern by Celeste Young, and I just make 12 rounds using lighter weight yarn to make a dishcloth. And I've done that before and I absolutely love how they turn out. I love using them. I think they're so pretty and they work really well. This yarn is a bit thicker than my previous dishcloths I've made using this pattern. I've used fingering weight yarn, and this yarn I believe is probably DK weight. It is Georges Picard Qualité 234, color number 12. The makeup of it is 65% rayon, 18% cotton, 17% acrylic. And I started this one, well, I started the first one on July 3rd, and then I finished the second one here on July 6th. So they go really quickly. I used a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. And again, I only did 12 rounds of the pattern. And that makes a dishcloth that measures 12 inches before washing. I have used and washed and dried the first one, which is here. And it did shrink a little bit, which I had expected it to. The other dishcloths I made also shrunk a little bit. This isn't too noticeable, but it is a little bit less, a little bit smaller than it was before. Not much. The feel of the actual yarn is incredible. It's so much softer than it was unwashed. This is really scratchy and rough, and this is a lot softer. I could definitely tell the difference between the fingering weight yarn and this yarn though. This did feel a lot more bulky than my other dishcloths, which I don't love. So I am definitely going to be using this second one as more of a doily. I'm planning on putting it underneath a plant that I have in my dining room. And I think that will be really pretty and useful also in case, I overwater it and it spills or something. This does soak up water. It did work well. The content of the yarn did work well for a dishcloth. And I think I'll try this one more time now that I've washed and dried it, since it shrunk up a little bit and the yarn just feels differently now. I'm going to try it one more time as a washcloth, I think. But if I continue to not really like how it feels, I just don't like bulky washcloths for some reason. I may use this one as like a doily somewhere in the house as well, because it's really pretty just as it is too, I think. So anyway, I was happy to finish this second one. And then I've been making a few more. My cousin had sent me some yarn a while back, and it was fingering weight yarn, 100% cotton yarn. And so I thought I would use it for making some more dishcloths. The yarn is Rowan Summerlite 4-ply, which is 100% cotton. And I don't know the colorway names for these first two colors that I'm using because there was not a label on them, but I have two more skeins of yarn that did have a label and I could tell they were all matching. But anyway, I don't know the colorway name for this light country blue color, which I think is so pretty. I again used the 3.5 millimeter crochet hook, and I also only did 12 rounds for this one. I had said when I made other fingering weight dishcloths using this pattern that I wanted to make them a little bit bigger because they do shrink when they're washed and dried. But I decided not to make this one bigger for a couple of reasons. Firstly, because I had already used that dishcloth I had just shown you and I didn't like how it felt bigger. And I thought, well, maybe I'll just stick to this size because I know I like this size even though it does shrink up a little bit. Secondly, because the yarn is in 50-gram balls and these take about 25 grams each, just a little less than 25 grams each. So I'm able to get, well, I was able to get 2 dishcloths out of this light blue color, and I knew that if I went any bigger, then I wouldn't be able to get 2 dishcloths out of the one skein. But anyway, I was able to make 2 out of the light blue skein. And I think they're so pretty. I can't wait to add these to my collection. And then I also have a dark blue colorway. And here is the first one I finished. And I did it just the same, so 3.5 millimeter, 12 rounds. So pretty. But the second one, I was only able to make 11 rounds, and then I ran out of yarn. So I only have this tiny little bit left, which is definitely not enough to do a whole nother round. I do have a little bit more of the light blue colorway, but I'm not positive if that's enough to do a border. I could try it, I guess. But since I have 2 more full skeins of this same yarn, I'm going to put this one on hold. And if I have some extra from the other 2 colors that I'm going to work up, then I'll just add 1 more contrast round to this one. Otherwise, if I end up not having enough, then 11 rounds will still be very useful, and I will be happy to have this in my collection as well. But it's just a tiny bit smaller than the other ones because it only has 11 rounds completed. You can see I have not woven in that last tail because I'm probably not done with it. But anyway, I started these dishcloths, this new yarn, on July 6th. So I still just working through them. In fact, I'll go on to my works in progress now, and my next one is on the go in this cute little bag that I received in a tea order that I made through Amazon. So the next color I have is, again, the same yarn, Rowan Summerlite 4-ply, and this is in the buttermilk colorway, which is a perfect name for this because it really is, it's not a cream, you know, not like an ivory color, it's really got a buttery color to it, which I think is so fun and beautiful. And I've started working on this one. So I'm not sure where I'm at, but I'm on this 7th round, I believe. So that's working up really nicely as well. And hopefully I'll be able to get 2 dishcloths out of this skein. And then I have one more color that my cousin sent me, which is kind of a teal-ish color, like a blue-green color. All right, I have a lot of works in progress to share with you all. I will just go over the ones that you have already seen before first. The first one I want to share with you is in this project bag that I made myself. And I'll try to make this quick because you know what this is if you've watched for a while. I've been working on this since December, so it's a long work in progress, but I'm continuing to make good progress on this project. This is the Triangle Garter Wrap, which is a free pattern by Purl Soho. It's one of the projects from my Make 9 board. And I am continuing to work on this every day, little by little, and you can see there I've made several more inches of progress, which makes me so happy. I'm really only a few inches, I think about this much away from changing to my last color, which is so exciting. So I've made modifications to this pattern as well. The original pattern calls for this to be made using fingering weight yarn. I'm using lace weight yarn, and instead of keeping it as a triangle, after I reached the triangle shape, I started decreasing my stitches, so my final wrap will be in the shape of a square that I'm planning on doubling over and then wearing in that way. I am using 4 different colors of lace weight mohair yarn. The first 2 colors I have are white and Plover, which are Knit Picks Aloft yarns. And then this bare colored yarn is just a bare lace weight mohair that I had in my stash from when I used to dye yarn. And then the final color I'll be using is also Knit Picks Aloft in the Oat colorway. So I'm excited to get to this, and it should be not too much longer. This is 72% Super Kid mohair and 28% silk. And yeah, I'm just so pleased with how it's coming along. It's going to be so pretty, I think. I'm using US 5 3.75 millimeter needles, and all the needles that I use for my projects are Chow red lace. It's so lightweight and beautiful. I'm so excited to have it. It'll be so great when the weather cools down again to have this to wrap up in. It's getting really dark. I think it's gonna rain. It's supposed to rain, which is good because we haven't had rain in a little while. Okay, I have a little project update on my Scrappy flower hexagon blanket that I'm working on. I've just made one more motif, and I'm so pleased with how this one looks. It's so fun. I'm using my own tutorial for this pattern, which I will link to. It is a pattern or a tutorial that I made showing how I made the blanket that is behind me here on the chair. And as you can see on that blanket, I switched colors throughout each hexagon, but on these I am only doing one color for each hexagon. And I am making a lot of motifs that look like this, and then I will eventually be bordering them with plain bare colored yarn and piecing them together, inspired by the quilt that Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady is making using English paper piecing. But I wanted to make one using crochet. And I'm so happy with how all of these fun little motifs are coming out. So this is my 12th. No, I'm forgetting. Yeah, this is my 12th one done. So pretty. I just love them. They're so much fun to make. All right, I have an update on another Scrappy project that I haven't shown in a long time. This is a blanket that I am putting my leftover worsted weight yarn into. And I'm not following a pattern for this project. I will put notes in the description box below how I'm making this project. But I just kind of did my own thing for a standard ripple crochet blanket. I started this project on March 31st. I'm using an H5mm hook. Oh, I should mention that for this project, I'm using a 2.75mm hook and fingering weight yarn. I don't think I mentioned that either, but anyway, sorry about that. So for this Scrappy blanket, I chained 200 or so stitches, and then I have a total of, oh no, I don't remember how many different ripples I have. I'll have to double check that. But again, I'll put the notes of how I'm doing my stitches in the description box if you're interested, but you can easily find a standard ripple crochet pattern. But let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 total peaks across. So you can see it's a good throw size, and I'm planning on just keeping this for our family. So there is a progress keeper on here that's also from my cousin Allie that's marking where I was. It's a cute little bee. Can you see it very well? It's so adorable. And that's marking where I was the last time I shared this with you all, but it has been several months, I'm sure. So I've just added a few more rows. You can see I have the leftovers from the little girl's blanket in here. I wasn't too sure about that bright pinky red color being put in there, but I do have other very bright colors in here as well. So I think it works. I think it's so much fun. I absolutely love working on this blanket. It's so relaxing and enjoyable to just add little bits into this blanket. I think it's so much fun. So it's really, you know, getting to be a good length. It still needs a bit more length, but not a ton. So that's fun. Let's see, are there any other, one more project that you've seen before, and that is just a pair of socks that I've been working on lately. It's being held in this bag that I received in a swap many years ago. This yarn was also gifted to me by a viewer of this channel. And it is King Cole Summer 4-ply in the Neptune colorway. It's 55% bamboo, 37% cotton, and 8% PBT. I started these on June 22nd. And I've just made a little bit of progress on them. These are, I don't work on these a ton. I only work on these if I need something that is completely mindless and I don't have to even think about at all. And it's easily transportable. So I cast on 60 stitches using US 0.2mm needles. I did 2x1 ribbing for a little more than 20 rounds until the color changed. Then I'm just done plain stockinette for the entire sock. I did a slip stitch heel flap and gusset decreases, and I'm just doing the foot now. These are going to be gifted to my mother-in-law, probably for her birthday or Christmas or something like that. There's a progress keeper on here that I received from Emma of Potter and Bloom, and that is marking where I was the last time I recorded an episode. So I've made a few inches of progress. I have about 20 more rounds to do before I can do the toe decreases. So not too much longer on these, but I just think the colors, I love the colors in these. I think it's so much fun, perfect for summer to be working on these. And the colors are perfect and the yarn makeup is perfect for summer. So they've been really enjoyable to have on the go. For the heels, I pulled the yarn from the inside of the cake instead of the outside so that I wouldn't disrupt the color stripes. And I think that worked really well. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 new projects to share with you. I know I've gotten in one of those moods again where I am inspired to start projects, and so I just start them. And I probably should narrow it down, but then I think, no, I'm gonna make them because I want to, and I can. The first one I want to share with you is being held in this gorgeous bag that was gifted to me by Trisha of Joy in the Stitches. I absolutely love this bag so much. And I mentioned that I wanted to start this on the last episode. This is another one of the projects from my Make 9 board. It is a cardigan called Romance by Trico something. She has her name on the actual pattern, but I'm sure I can't pronounce it. Oh, Trico Design MCL is the pattern, the designer on Ravelry, but her actual name is listed on the pattern as well, but I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I'm sure I won't say it correctly, but I'll show you a picture and you can read it. It's just a black and white photo, but here is the pattern and it's so beautiful. I absolutely love it. The trimming along here is done using crochet, so I think that's so fun to combine knitting and crochet. And I've just gotten started on this one. I just started it yesterday. So I don't have a ton to share, but at least I've started it. And this is the back, the top back piece. And it's just done in stockinette, so it's not too exciting at this point. Oh, that's upside down. It goes this way. Not that it really matters, but anyway. The yarn that I'm using is Knit Picks Wool of the Andes Sport Weight in the Pampas Heather colorway. And that is 100% Peruvian Highland wool. I love the color variation in these heathered colorways. They're so beautiful. And this is being knit on US 6 4mm needles, which I was able to get gauge with. So that's great. I have started another crochet project here. This I am again not following a pattern. I did look up online a basic instruction on how to crochet an oval shape, so I will link to that in the description box as well. It was on the website How To. That's funny. Oh yeah, ehow.com. I just put in the article that I found is just called How to Crochet a Basic Oval Shape. I'm using more gifted yarn. This is worsted weight 100% cotton yarn. And so I did just start at the base of this. And did I mention I'm making a bag? I think I did. So I wanted an oval shape for the base of the bag. I wanted a tight gauge, so I'm using a G 4mm hook. And I did a total of 8 rounds following the instructions on how to do an oval. They give you instructions on if you want to make it bigger than what they show, how to do your increases. I did start with a larger chain. I started with a chain of 30 stitches to get the size that I wanted, and this is turning out to be just what I was hoping for. And so after I finished my oval, then the next round I stopped increasing and I did single crochet stitches. All of these are single crochet stitches, by the way, US terms. And then I just did a row of single crochet stitches into the back loop only to change the direction of the way that the stitches were going. It helps it just to have a nice edge for the bottom. And now I am just crocheting in the round without any increases. I'm just going to crochet up. I'm planning to make it, I don't know, about this tall or so. So I'm excited with how this is turning out. I have this ball of yellow, and then I'm probably going to switch to a multicolored yarn that I also was gifted. So I'm excited to see how this will turn out. But it's a nice, easy project to work on now as well. I have started 2 new blankets, crochet blankets. The first one I am using, again, all gifted yarn. I am so incredibly blessed, I know. I'm using an H 5mm hook, and the blanket pattern that I'm using actually came on the band of one of the skeins of yarn. This came on a Caron Simply Soft skein of yarn, and it is this blanket right here. It is called the Summer. It's called the Summer Ripple Crochet Blanket, and I just started this a couple of days ago. The main yarn that I'm using is Caron Simply Soft Party in the Violet Variegated colorway. It has this fun sparkle strand in it, so it's 99% acrylic, 1% metallic polyester. And then I also have, so I have 4 skeins of this, and then I will also be using Caron Simply Soft in the purple colorway, the white, and in Orchid. And here, I'm just holding it in this little basket that I thrifted. Here is my blanket so far. And I'm just planning on having this be a baby blanket, so it's pretty narrow. It's not too big. It's about 30 to 35 inches across, I think. And I think it's so fun. The pattern is just so beautiful. I really love how scalloped it is. It's so gorgeous. It isn't a mindless pattern, however. You really have to count across each row. So you have to count both the valley and peak stitches. It's not as easy as my other ripple blanket. That's pretty mindless. I don't have to do a lot of counting. Once in a while I'll check to make sure I'm right on my stitch count, but it's pretty mindless. This one is not so mindless. You really have to count on both these stitches and these valley stitches. So that part is, you just have to concentrate a little bit, but the result is so beautiful. I just love how it's looking. So I've done a little bit of weighing my yarn and planning out how I'm going to be doing this, and I'm going to have a large section of this variegated color on both ends, and then I'm going to have some stripes of the solid colors and then more narrow stripes of the variegated purple in between each solid section. So I think I have it planned out so that it will be a good size, and I'll be able to have enough yarn to do a nice pattern with it. But I'm enjoying this project so far. And then the last project that I started, it's another crochet project, just yesterday on a whim because I had all this yarn sitting out and I just loved the color combination, and I just had to try a new pattern using this beautiful yarn. So let me show you what I've got here. I'm using a bunch of DK weight yarn. Some of it is left over from a baby blanket that if you've watched for a while, you may recognize the colors. And then some of the yarn was again gifted to me by my cousin Allie. So here's my color palette. Isn't it so beautiful? So these 5 colors, because actually this one and these 4 are the colors that I used in another baby blanket that I finished maybe a month ago or something, I can't remember, but it was the baby flower blanket that I finished a little while ago. And then these 4 colors are all Knit Picks Brava. They're labeled as sport weight, but I think they're mislabeled because my cousin sent me a lot of Knit Picks Brava sport weight, and half of the skeins are labeled with less yardage than the others. So these 4 colorways are have a total of 273 yards to 100 grams, and you can definitely tell that they are thicker and more of a DK weight than the others that have 300 and some yards for 100 grams. And those, I think, are accurately labeled as sport. In fact, on the other labels, they have the same label, but over the yardage right here, they've put an extra sticker on top of it with the correct yardage, which is the 300 and something. So I think that these were just mislabeled, perhaps. Anyway, so the colors I have are Seashell, Lady Slipper, Tranquil, and Cornflower in the Knit Picks Brava. And then the other colors I have are Darren Morse Anti-Pilling Decay in the Lime, Rose, Blush, Olive, and Powder. And I have this Crochet Kaleidoscope book in my stash. It is a book designed by Sandra Ng. And I had this sitting out along with the yarn, and I just had to give one of these motifs a try. And so the one that I am making is number 77. And I'm going to try to cover up the actual notes here and show you what the finished hexagon is supposed to look like. It's so pretty, isn't it? I love this one. So I've made up 3 hexagons except for the final border. So my hexagons do not have that final row on them because I'm planning on joining these hexagons together as I finish the blanket. I really don't know what size I'm going to make this blanket into. I assume it will become a baby blanket because I make a lot of baby blankets. But I have some extra. I don't just have one skein of these colors that I've shown you. I have some of the colors in multiple skeins. So I think I might be able to have enough to make a larger blanket than just a baby blanket. So we'll see. I'm not sure. For right now, I'm planning on making a bunch of hexagons and then piecing them, laying them out into a color order that I like and piecing them together eventually down the road, using that last round and joining as I make that last round. So I will just share with you what I've got so far. I love them so much. I think they're so adorable and they're really fun to make. So I'm just using the colors randomly and I think they're so fun. I'm going to use the powder colorway. For every motif will have that for this 3rd round right here with these little spokes. And this will also be my joining color. So the final round will also be made using this powder colorway. I have a lot of it in my stash. And I am using a G 4mm hook for this. And I'm crocheting over all my ends so I don't have to worry about weaving in any tails. I always do that when I'm crocheting blankets. So I just have this one tail here, which I will crochet over when I do the final round. Here's the next one, which is so pretty. I love that color combination a lot. And the final one is here. So I just think they're so sweet. They will be joined somewhat like this eventually. They're so fun. It's just one of those projects that I just had to try. I get like that with some projects sometimes and I can't get it out of my head until I just try it. I just want to see how it looks, so that's what I did. So I'm not sure if I will continue to work on this one. I don't usually have so many projects on the go, so I feel like some of these might kind of fall to the wayside for a little while as I try to pare things down, but we'll see how it goes. I think that is everything I have to share with you all today. I hope that you enjoyed seeing the things that I've been working on, and I hope that you're enjoying the things that you're working on as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.